Hello, students. I'm back with the English version of the trade cycle. Let's talk about something that affects pretty much everyone. The economy's constant ups and downs. It is really like a roller coaster. There are these incredible highs, but also some pretty scary drops. So, today we are going to break down the mechanics behind this wild ride. Let's jump right in. You have probably wondered about this, right? One year it feels like jobs are everywhere and businesses are booming, and then the next, all you hear about are cutbacks and slowdowns. Well, it's not just random, there's actually a pattern to all this madness, and this wave like pattern you see here, it is called trade cycle. Basically, economists call it trade cycle or sometimes the business cycle. And really, understanding this is key to understanding how our whole economic world works. So, here our game plan. First, we'll get a solid definition of the economic roller coaster. Then, we'll walk through its four distinct phases. After that, we'll get into the toolkits that central bank and government use to try and control the ship. And finally, we'll see how it all comes together in the name of economic stability. So, what exactly is a trade cycle? In simple terms, it's just the economy's natural rhythm. You have the good times, the expansion phase, followed by the not so good times, the contraction phase. Now, the most important thing to get here is that while the pattern repeats, the timing is totally irregular. It's not like clockwork, which you know is what make managing it so tricky. And what's really wild is how this cycle behaves so better. So they have got momentum, which means good times tend to feed on themselves, but so do the bad times. And in our super connected world today, a downturn in one major country can spread across the globe like wildfire. It ends up touching every part of the economy and, well, pretty much everyone. Okay, so to make this whole journey easier to follow, economists breaks it down into four phases. We can almost think of them like the four seasons of a year. First, you have got the economic summer, the expansion or the boom phase. This is when the good times are rolling on. Production is running at full stream. Jobs are very easy to find. People feel confident, so they are spending and investing. Life is pretty good. This is the very top of that roller coaster. But you know what goes up must come down. So the next phase is contraction, what we usually call a recession. This is like the economic autumn. Things start to cool off. The country's output shrinks, and unfortunately, people start losing their jobs. Businesses and consumers both start to tighten their belts, and everything slows down. Now, eventually, that slide stops and hits bottom rock. This point is called trough. Think of it as an end of winter. It's a tough period for sure, but this is also when things start to turn around. And this leads to the recovery phase. So, this cycle is a natural thing, but does that mean we just have to sit back and take the punches? Nope, not at all. The first line of defense is the central bank, and they use monetary policy. This is all about controlling the supply of money and credit in the economy. The tool you have probably heard the most about is the bank rate. Just think of it like a gas pedal and a brake for the economy. When things are booming and maybe getting a little too hot, the central bank hits the brakes by raising the interest rate. That makes borrowing money more expensive for everyone. And when the economy is sluggish, they hit the gas, they cut rates to make borrowings cheaper, which encourages people and business to spend and invest. And then you have got the open market operations. To cool things down during a boom, the central bank sells government bonds. This basically draws cash out of the banking system, like shown in the picture. During recession, they do the exact opposite. They buy up bonds, which injects a bunch of cash into the system, giving banks more money to lend out. And the last big tool for the central bank is a cash reserve ratio, or CRR. This is a rule that just tells banks, hey, you have to keep a certain percentage of money in the vault. You can't lend it all out. So if the economy is overheating, they raise that percentage. That means banks have less money to give loan, and if they want to get things rolling, they lower it. But hold on, the central bank isn't the only one pulling the strings here. The government itself has a really powerful set of tools called fiscal policy, and all this comes down to two things, that is spending and taxes. So when there is recession, the government can step in and try to kickstart growth. This is called expansionary fiscal policy. They might start big infrastructure projects like roads or bridges, which creates jobs, or they could cut tax, leaving more money in the pocket of consumer to spend. The goal is simple: pump cash and confidence back into the economy. Now, on the other side, what if the economy is growing too fast and prices are skyrocketing? Well, the government can use contractionary fiscal policy to tap the brakes. This could mean cutting back on its own spending, or it might mean raising the taxes to take some of that extra spending power out of the people's hands. So it's all about trying to land the plane instead of letting it crash. Okay, so you have got these two massive toolkits: monetary policy from the central bank and fiscal policy from the government. So, what's the end game? What are they trying to achieve with all this? Well, it's all about teamwork. It's that simple. These tools work best when they are not fighting with each other. You need the government's tax and spending plans to be in sync with what the central bank is doing with the interest rate. Everyone needs to be going in the same direction. So, here's the bottom line: no one thinks they can get rid of the economic roller coaster altogether. That's just not going to happen. The real goal is to smooth out the ride, to make the highs a little less crazy and lows a less painful. And timing is absolute everything. And for this, we can have a coordinated policy, which is a key to manage this whole cycle effectively and achieve a long term stability that everyone wants. And this leaves us with the one final big question. We have talked about how one country can manage its own economy, but today the whole world is so interconnected that a decision made in one country can undulate all across the planet. So, how do these domestic policies end up affecting the entire global economy? Something to think about. Thank you. Have a nice day.